Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. You saw the title. That's right, I've got 2 replays to show you that again, this deck didn't die with the banning of Oak and the limiting of Golem. This is the exact list that we've played previously. It's the same list from that of the World Championship, going from second place, RJ, except for one card being changed, the Birch instead of Oak. And let me show you some duels that really showcase the power of Snake Eye and what it can accomplish. Let's hop into them. Alright, here we are, once again, going second. And let's see what we can do here. This hand is something, I'll tell you that, and it's got Birch in it. So there's that. We're playing against Branded. I'm going to Droll and Lockbird them, but it's not really going to do anything because Branded doesn't care. Anyway, let's see what my opponent can accomplish here off of their Branded Fusion. They're going to activate the Branded Fusion, go into the Albion. Albion is going to then go into the Mirror Jade off of the back of Lubellion. Wow, crazy. Who would have ever guessed? Whoa, this deck's so hard. So, anyway, they're going to set the Lost Branded, then they're going to go for the Triple Tactics Thrust in order to go into their, this one, Fusion Dupe. And then during the end phase, they're also going to set a Branded Banishment. So, this is what they ended up accomplishing here. Not too impressive, and of course, Nib, right on time. Love to see it. But they do have the Mirror Jade interaction. They have the ability with Branded Lost in order to fuse and potentially get some stuff there. And then, of course, they have the Branded Banishment and the Branded Duplication. On top of that, they also have Retribution Engrave as well, which means that they can cycle back an additional card. So, there's that. I also don't know what's in hand, but there you go. Let's see what we can accomplish here. We're going to start off here with Engraver. We're going to grab up the Tract, and then we're going to activate the effect of the Tract. This is just kind of to see if they're going to bait some sort of interaction. Also, like Mirror Jade just kind of cooks here. So, we're going to special summon out the Flurry, which is not banished, which they elected to not do. Okay, I'm going to then normal summon Birch and then immediately go into SP Little Knight, and you're probably wondering, Snow, what are you doing? Why'd you do that? Well, because SP Little Knight just contests like 9 interactions here. So, yeah, of course I'm gonna go for the SP Little Knight. If they're gonna allow me to do this, I'm absolutely gonna do this. Yes, activating Requiem and potentially going to like Lacrima might have been a little bit better overall if it resolves, but it's not going to. They're going to interact with that in some capacity, and yeah, this just gets me the best way to remove 2 interactions here. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to target the back row in the Branded Banishment. They're going to then activate the Branded Banishment. I'm, of course, going to chain the SP Little Knights, targeting the Mirror Jade, and then they're going to activate the Mirror Jade effect, sending the Titaniclad. Now, this is a bit of a goof. I don't think that this is actually a correct play. I think they should have just let the Mirror Jade be banished, and then Fusion Summon it later, and just use the effect later, because now it's just a dead card on the field, and the SP Little Knight is going to trigger the effect of the Mirror Jade anyway to nuke the field on on end phase. I understand why they did this nonetheless, because like having Mirror Jade on the field as contingency, or just being able to banish the SP Little Knight is also like fairly decent, all things considered. But I really don't like this play. That's all. Anyway, they do send the Titaniclad here, and they banish the SP Little Knight. Anyway, out comes the Albion, and then they elect not to fuse here, which is going to bite them in the butt later, and you'll see why. We're going to go for the Engraver here. We're basically just using the Fiendsmith engine in order to kind of interact with the opponent's end board. We're then going to go for the Wanted here in order to grab up Diabellstar, and we're going to summon the Diabellstar here, sending the Requiem to the grave. Now we're going to link those 2 off into Phoenix. Huh? What are we doing, Snow? That's not what you... Where's Sequence? What are we doing? Well, we got to deal with the Branded Lost. Branded Lost immediately contests us as well, because all they can do, what they can do here is they can Fusion Summon it using the Branded Fusion with their Fusion Duplication, and then with the Branded Lost can kind of entirely cut us out of the game due to Mercurier. They can just search up Mercurier. So we're immediately going to contest the Branded Lost. Just remove it from the field. Fantastic! Now we just get to do a full Snake Eye combo. Hip hip hooray! And they can, like, kind of interact with us, but I don't really see what they do off of the Branded Fusion here that actually contests the full Snake Eye engine. So, yeah, we're going to go Ash into Poplar, into grab up the Temple, into Snake Eye Diabellstar, and then we're going to link off into the Link Karibo. Here we're going to activate the effect of the Poplar and put the Phoenix into the back row. Now they activate the Fusion Duplication. I don't know why they elect to do this, but it's fine. It's not that big of a deal. So yeah, we're going to put the Nightmare Phoenix into the back row, and it'll be in the back row for when this monster is summoned, which means we can then summon out the Phoenix and still keep the Snake Eye Diabellstar. They do elect to go for Albion effect here, which is a bit of goof. I don't know why we do this here, but alas, to each their own. thinking about this with what they end up doing, I understand kind of why they do this, but it is a mistake, again, from the opponent, which I'm going to capitalize on as much as I can. That being said, with the Albion effect, what they could have done is waited for me to activate the Snake Idea Bellstar, targeting one of my monsters in the grave to put it into the back row, and then just targeted that card and special summon it to my field, and then that way the Snake Idea Bellstar doesn't get the chance to put a card into the back row and put itself onto the field, which is very, very strong, because this card is very, very good at dealing with exactly Albion. So yeah, anyway, again, I'm capitalizing on the mistakes that my opponent has made as best as I can. There you go. Out comes the Fallen of Albaz. It's a bit annoying, but there's not a whole lot that they can really fuse with, so I'm not really too concerned. I'm like, okay, you're going to fuse with a Link Karibo, I guess? And that is exactly what they do. Out comes the Lubellion. I'm like, okay, sure. This is going to be likely what's it called? Borreload Furious Dragon. That's what I was thinking, right? Because that's what they previously played, but Chaos exists. I forgot about this card. So they're going to elect to pop the Phoenix, and I'm like, I'm also going to keep the Snake Eye Ash. I'm at least going to try to keep the additional material on field with the Link Karibo, so I'm going to elect to do that. Now we can go for the Snake Idea Bellstar and put the Birch into the back row, and I'm going to elect to draw a card here. I'm just like, I just kind of need some. We draw a Millennium, it doesn't matter. I drew the Millennium card, that's fantastic. I love thinning my deck and then drawing the card that I absolutely need. Out comes the Golem. We're going to grab all of that and then go into Promethean Princess. This is exactly what I needed. I needed one more guy to allow me to keep the Snake Idea Bellstar on my field while also being able to go into Promethean Princess. So out comes Promethean Princess, and we're going to special summon the Snash. Out comes Snake Eye Ash. We're going to then go into the Flomberg. We're going to activate the effect of the Flomberg, putting, of course, the Mirror Jade into the back row. Because the opponent does control the Mirror Jade, and it doesn't remove it from the field, they can't activate the effects to potentially nuke my field during the end phase, and on top of that, they can't fusion summon it later because they still control the Mirror Jade. While it is a monster, or while it is no longer a monster, it is still a Mirror Jade, the Iceblade Dragon. Cool. I'm going to activate the Golem here, and then I'm going to activate the effect of the Golem, which is just genuinely a mistake. I shouldn't have done that. That was just a goof on my part. I just clicked too fast. However, it does end up saving me later, so it's fine. Anyway, we're going to go to combat and just walk over the things that we can, most notably putting Albion back into the back row, and then we are going to link off into our Snake Eye Doomed Dragon. This is why it's a mistake. Had I had Golem into the back row and done this earlier, we could have potentially walked over an additional monster, basically. We could have put the Albion into the back row. I guess we wouldn't have walked over a different another monster. I'm lying to you. But most notably, we would have still had Snake Idea Bellstar in the back row, which would have been very, very useful for later. It's fine. We're going to link off into Moon of the Closed Heaven. We're going to then do the Flomberg effect, and we're going to special summon out to two guys here. It doesn't really matter which two. We're then going to go into the sequence. We're going to activate the effect of the sequence, and we're going to shuffle back 3 cards into Desiree. Then we're going to go and activate the Desiree effect to fusion summon track. This is a mistake. I was low on time. I was thinking, I really need to condense this. I want to make Apo so that they don't really have anything on the follow-up. And the best way for me to do this is to get rid of the Bestial Lubellion so that they can't just immediately contest my field by just flipping this guy to attack position. However, Desiree also just entirely contests the field as well with the 2 negates that it has. So this is just a mistake. And I realized this almost immediately, but I was kind of low on time and I was just like, yeah, let's do this, let's remove the guy, and then, like, we can make a thing. But I don't really have anything else to make is the problem. I'm not playing the Agnum Day, and the reason I'm not playing Agnum Day is because the engine is, or the extra deck is too tight. So, anyway, I make a format Apo, and then I get to send, and then I get to put back a guy with Lacrima. But now I don't have any follow-up as well, which is a bit of goof. Anyway, we do have the ability to negate with Apollosa, which is nice. I just need them to not have, like, branded fusion exactly. Or grass. Like, those 2, I think we're fine. They're gonna activate the effect, and I'm like, ah. Oh, they drew the branded fusion, didn't they? They drew branded fusion, that's why they're grabbing the branded lost here. Oh, that doesn't do it. Oh, so happy. I'm so happy here. They're gonna go for the Mercurier, they're gonna activate the effect of the Mercurier. I'm going to promptly negate that. And at this point, it is a top deck and a dream. Surely I top deck something useful here. No. Okay, well, 16 to the dome. It's fine. Can they beat Apo, called by? And the answer is... they can't. Oh! Okay, I have the called by for a potential hand trap like an Ash Blossom or a Maxi, and we draw a monster. That's all I needed. I just needed a monster. That's it. We win the game. Hip hip hooray. Here's how we do it. We link off the Apo in order to go into the full Fiendsmith line because I'm stupid and didn't keep a Light Fiend on my field. Anyway, it's fine. We go Lacrima into the Engraver. Engraver effect is going to shuffle back, of course, the Lacrima Fusion, which we then can go into sequence with, and then we can activate the effect of sequence, shuffling back 2 monsters in order to go into the Lacrima. Lacrima effect is going to activate, and we're going to add it back to the field, the Engraver. The correct option there was actually to add it back to hand, to then go for the tracked line. That is just the more correct option there. That being said, doesn't matter. We won that game. Holy crap. This deck is stupid. And we got 2 back-to-back bangers going second. This is a dead hand. Unless Maxi resolves. Then, maybe it doesn't. Frick. This is a really bad hand now. Pretty much every single one of these cards doesn't do anything against this deck. Let's see if we can do something with this. What do we draw for turn? I mean, it's something. It does technically do something. I'm going to Ash this. I'm almost certain they have a big welcome, but I'm going to Ash this one in particular, because if I don't, out comes Lovely, and I die. That's fine. We're going to Maxi here as well, and, yeah. It'll be great. It's gonna be, gosh, dang it. It's, maybe I should have threatened, like, unevenly or something here. I'm gonna attempt to imperm the Ariana. They're going to bounce it. I don't know why we didn't activate the effect of the rollback in order to just activate the big welcome, but alas, that's fine. I'm gonna Maxi here, and they drew Lady. They searched the Chandra, and they drew Lady. I mean, okay, that's a good draw. That's 2 ashes. That's 2 ashes off of the Roach in a row. That's technically not true, but that's 2 ashes that we did end up drawing, which is very, very useful against this deck. That card also does stuff. I'm gonna threaten combat here, and they take the bait, which is exactly what I wanted. So we negate the big welcome because Lovely could immediately kill us, and then they also don't elect to actually set a card off of Lady because, again, they're thinking I'm going to go into evenly. They're also going to declare Synchro with Dimensional Barrier. Cool. That worked. The bait worked. That's crazy. At this point, my opponent is basically just throwing, but alas, we're going to go for the Golem here. We're going to activate the effect in order to grab up the Wedju Temple, and then we're going to activate the Wedju Temple, putting Droll into the back row, and out comes this guy. We're then going to put the Ariana into the back row and make SP Little Knight. Activate the effect of the SP Little Knight, targeting the Daruma, which of course it's Daruma. It's always Daruma. But that's exactly why we go for the SP Little Knight, because now we just... Away goes the SP Little Knight and book their own monster. Now we can go for the OSS. OSS activate the effect to go into Ash, Ash into Poplar, and Poplar special summons itself. Activate the effect of the Poplar, grab up the Temple, and then activate the Temple effect in order to put the Snake ID Bellstar into the back row. Out comes Moon! Woo, Fiendsmith. Put Ash into the back row, and then go into the entire Fiendsmith line. We're going to go into Requiem. We're going to activate the effect of the Requiem. We're going to go for the Lacrima. Lacrima is going to send into the graveyard the Engraver. Engraver is going to shuffle back in order to go into this. And here's the thing. I forgot a thing, which is why I make the play that I do. I forgot that Daruma is banished off of the SP Little Knight effect. I thought they still had access to Daruma, which is why I did the thing that I did, and not use, and why I didn't use the Snake Eye Ash. Because I was like, oh, they're just going to book me, so I'm going to immediately go into the Fiendsmith stuff. I forgot. That's my bad. That being said, they could also go for Dimensional Barrier here off of the rollback as well, and they could cut me off of Fusions. So that's another thing to keep in mind, but yet they have yet to do that. Anyway, I'm going to send the guy to the graveyard, and we're going to go into sequence. I'm going to activate the effect of the Just Kidding. Never mind. They're going to go for the rollback here in order to special summon a guy by banishing the rollback, and then that's fine. Out comes Lovely. I'm like, that's A-okay. I'm going to yoink your Ariana because it's funny. They're going to elect to pop and trigger a whole bunch of effects, most notably putting the Chandelier and the Stovey Torby back into rotation, which is pretty nice. I'm going to elect to steal here. They're going to, of course, send to the graveyard in order to set the Welcome, and now we get to set our own card off of the Lovely, which is Infit. Now, we are going to use the Lovely Labyrinth, which which is my opponent's monster, and the Ariana, which is also my opponent's monster, in order to go into the Zombie Vampire. Y'all knew this had this effect, right? Y'all knew that you could use this with a level that is owned by the opponent as an Exe that is treated as 8, right? You knew that, right? I read that really poorly, but you get the idea. Anyway, out comes Birch. Cool! Doesn't really matter. We're going to put another Ashe into the back row, and out comes Link Karibo. We're then going to link off those two in order to go into the IV Mask Arena, and then we're going to go into, that's right, Promethean Princess. Now, what have we yet to activate? That's right! Snash! Let's do it again! This looks oddly familiar. Anyway, we're going to put the Lovely back into the back row so that they can't have access to it, and then we're going to link off into the Nightmare Phoenix. Nightmare Phoenix is literally just a guy so that we can put additional guys onto the field. That's it. That's all that it is. The reason for this is because, genuinely speaking, I would much rather have the Promethean Princess in the grave than pretty much anything else. The rest of this is just additional things. Also, we're specifically putting Poplar onto the field so that we can put Snake-Eye Ash, or Snake-Eye Diabellstar back into the back row on the following turn. Out comes Orianna. Orianna grab at the lady, and then they are just going to go to combat. That's fine. We're then going to go into the Link Karibo, and then put the Poplar, or Poplar is going to put Flomberg into the back row. Out comes the attack. We're going to negate it. They're going to go for Welcome. I'm going to go for the SP Little Knight, targeting the lady, and then they are going to target, or activate the Arius. And I'm like, that's A-okay. They're also going to elect to bounce here, which is a choice that I myself would not have made. I understand why we make the choice, but why would you not have bounced the SP? If you're going to bounce a monster there, why would you not have bounced the SP? That's all I'm going to say. It's fine. Anyway, trigger 1, 2, 3 effects. That's fine as well, because we also get our own Divine Temple, as well as Promethean Princess, which is going to pop specifically the Orianna. This may seem like a strange idea, but it's because I don't want them to be able to go into Chaos Angel, which is a bit spoopy. Chaos Angel is pretty good. So we're specifically going to hit that one. It may be like, oh, why not hit the Arius? Well, Arius on field doesn't do nearly as much as it does in the grave. So, like, I'd rather get rid of Orianna than the Arius. And it's not like they can walk over anything here as well. Anyway, beside the point, they're going to special summon out the Stovey Torby and put the Chandelier back into the grave, or back into the hand. I'm like, cool. My main goal here is to prevent them access from Lady. I do not want them to get access to a Lady effect, because any trap card, as you can see, like a simultaneous equation cannon, could be highly detrimental to me. Anyway, they do put the Coup Clock back in hand. They're then going to special summon the lady and pass the turn. Now, I don't hate this play. I understand this play, because at this point, you're kind of cooked, no matter what you do. And both of these, I believe, have been activated this turn. So it's a bit of a struggle. That being said, at this point, you're dead. There's not a whole lot more that you can do here, unless I, like, royally screw up and just, like, don't chain and allow you access to Lady. For the most part, you're just dead. So let's see what my opponent can do. Or more specifically, let's see what I can do at this point. My opponent's going to go for the Big Welcome, and in response to my Promethean Princess. So I'm going to activate my SP Little Knight in order to prevent them from, again, getting their Lovely, and, or Lady. And I'm just going to banish my Promethean so that I can go into specifically a non-fire. Out comes the Poplar, and we are going to yoink their Lovely. They're also going to go for the Welcome, the Chandelier, and the Stovey Torby as well. They've already done this. They're going to do it again. Coolio. Out comes all of these cards, and they're going to set a card, and I'm going to grab up their Lovely. Hip Hip Hooray. Now we go for the Fiendsmith line, and we've specifically put back the sequence. They're going to then activate the Coup Clock, then activate the Big Welcome, or sorry, the Welcome Lab, and like, that's A-okay, except I lied to you. We're going to activate our Link Karibo in Grave, to prevent, again, a thing from happening, and at this point, the opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes. Good game. Now, as much as Birch is a terrible, no good, very bad card, I do think that, genuinely speaking, the difference between having Birch and Oak only matters in very small situations, because for the most part, you're just able to entirely play the game as if nothing changed. You still have access to the same amount of bodies, the same amount of searches, the same amount of actual interaction, because the most important cards are still here. We still have Ashe, we still have Poplar, we still have Flomberg, and we still have Diabellstar, and of course, we still have OSS. All of these still functionally do the same thing, and as you saw in most of those games, I'm not actually winning by the Snake-Eye cards themselves, but more so the fact that the Snake-Eye cards do as much as they do, in combination with things like Fiendsmith and Millennium, right? Gaining access to those additional points of interaction. The Snake-Eye cards are definitely very good in a grind game, as you saw in that Labyrinth game, but just as much as the Fiendsmith cards are good in a grind game. The thing is, this deck is still by far one of the best decks in the game, and is not really losing that mantle. Maybe it's slightly worse than something like Fiendsmith Control, or something like Blue Eyes, but for the most part, it's still one of those top 3 decks, if not still the top. And as much as I hate to say it, none of this will matter, because most likely the next pack, one of the next packs, is going to contain either Maliss or Ryzeal. However, as I say this, I still think this deck competes with those decks. Because simply put, if you just go first, you do just kind of win games through a myriad of hand traps. There's only a small selection of hand traps that you do actually lose to, that being things like Maxi, Fualos, and maybe occasionally Droll. And I do mean occasionally, because sometimes it doesn't matter and you like normal summon a Lacrima and you win the game off of the Fiendsmith engine. But sometimes you immediately lose the game off of like activate Bonfire and then get Drolled and then you cry. Smile. All in all, I will say this deck is weaker. Which is not surprising, because the card was banned. But, man, it still does some crazy stuff. That's going to be it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you guys did indeed enjoy it. And if you did, I like it very much, so appreciate it. And remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye.